Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nic Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we're joined by Eddie Decurtis. Eddie is a co-founder of Sush, Inc., and I'll let him give you a little more information about that. Eddie, welcome. I'm glad to have you today and cannot wait to hear more about what it is that you do.
Oh, thank you. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Sush. Sush is a network authentication company focused on helping the mobile network operators expose their third-party, subscriber. Help them expose their subscriber information for to prevention of fraud to third parties. So Think of it like when you log into your bank account and you put your name and you put your login and your password and you get a 6-digit code. What this does is it does away with that 6-digit code and allows you to use network singles to specifically identify you and allow you to log in. It's seamless. It's silent. It's super quick, super fast, and 100 times more secure than what's being done today with the OTP two-factor passwords. Yeah, exactly. And we only focus on the supply side. So we only focus on working with mobile operators to expose that, because the challenge with the mobile operators is there's no more money, I like to say. They spent $300 billion in the US just to bring out 5G. There's only so much money left. So we deliver a distributed SaaS platform to the mobile network operators to allow them to expose these attributes.
Okay. Interesting. Because, I've noticed it used to be a 4-digit number, and then it's 6. I think some of my recent ones have had 8. I'm like, some are going to have
some of them
letters.
Now you're getting on email.
Oh.
You're not even getting it on your mobile phone. You're getting it on email.
Oh, wow. And it's because getting the tech, it's being able. I love it when it auto populates for my text on some of
that. Actually, it's funny you say that, because I think Apple or one of the maybe marketing companies went out there and did a survey, and they said that was like the number one Apple feature they have ever came out with, because it's difficult. You gotta jump to your
text or
whatever it is. You gotta jump to your messaging app, your email, and Apple's done it really well.
No, and I've got an iPhone, and I don't think it doesn't do it on my laptop, but it's easier because I can go copy paste it. But it's nice just to be able to click it in there.
I know.
So in the IT world, computer world, there's a lot of competition out there. What is something that sets you apart or helped you get to where you're at?
Well, that's a great question. So, we're only focused on the mobile network operator, and there are other companies that we have a competitor. Like Jack Walsh used to say, if you don't have a competitor, invent a competitor, right? You always want a competitor, right? So there are competitors out there, and each one is unique in their own way. What our moat is, anybody could build a technology, right? Enough money, you could build a technology. There's some complexity around network integration, working closely with a mobile network operator core, adhering to security and privacy and all the rules around that, right? So that gets a little bit more challenging, but there's companies out there that can do that. But I think our biggest moat is business operations, right? How do you run this as a business? This is not a technology play as much as it is a business play. How do you deal with regulatory? How do you deal with privacy? How do you deal with legal? How do you price it to the people who are going to consume it, the banks, the fintechs in the world, right? Understand, we have a 36-page contract that is for what we call demand partners, the larger aggregators. Even the banks would be considered a demand partner. We have a 36-page privacy that cares for all the stuff that surrounding that mobile network operator's business, liability controls, use of data, all that information has to be managed as a business. This is a business, depending on who you talk to, McKinsey, 300 billion, this guy, this, analyst firm, a trillion, there's all these crazy numbers out there. But regardless, if it's making a dollar, it's still a business and you need to care for that. So our mode is my chief product officer that joined us, he was employee number 3, ran this business at T-Mobile USA. So from its inception to its execution, and then ran the business for the last 4 years at T-Mobile and grew it exponentially. Very, very successful service offering. He has come in and we built a team around him that when we work with our mobile operator customers, we're teaching them how to price it, how to build the contracts, what customers they want, what use cases they want to use, what network APIs they want to expose. We work with them very, very closely to the point, in some cases, we're actually answering the phones for them. So we're running the operation for them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What is something that you maybe comes easy to you that others might find challenging?
The technology. The technology, for me, it's always been one of my strong suits. So, understanding the technology, I challenge my chief technology officer all the time. I challenge my head of network engineering all the time. So awesome. that has come pretty easy. But just understanding the business, I was very, very lucky in my career, right? And what I mean by that is I always had people around me that invented it. You know what I mean? It's like, this works this way because of X, Y, and Z. And you would say, how do you know that? And they'll be like, well, I invented it, right? Yeah. So for me to learn the industry by, I stand on shoulders of great individuals, that have like really started this whole industry that we all enjoy the pleasure of working in, right? So, I stand on the shoulders of giants, right? I mean, these people are giants in the industry. So I was very, very lucky to in my career, and I've always been kind of blessed that way, and I hope it continues into the future. So that's why I'm very kind of well-rounded, both physically because I eat too much, but from a business standpoint, yeah, very, very lucky.
Well, and I think maybe a little bit of luck, but I bet you a lot of your preparation and just studying and due diligence, you put yourself in those positions to have those spots too.
But there was definitely a few failures, spectacularly, like 99% of other startups.
Sure. Well, if you haven't failed, you probably haven't pushed hard enough.
Exactly.
Exactly. Test the limits some.
Yeah. And I think what was different here, if I look back at it, and I tell this story quite often because it's truly a testament to reality that, you always hear, you can be listening to Shark Tank or these huge successful entrepreneurs, and they all kind of have a similar story, right? They failed miserably a few times, or spectacularly, or however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think my biggest critic, in some ways is my wife. I mean, she's my number one supporter, but she's also, she can also be very critical. She's an attorney, so she tends to, everything's, to the point. I mean, there's been more than one time I said, I'm not your client, I'm your husband, and talk to me that way. So, like I said, I try to do a couple of different startups. I try to be an entrepreneur a few times. And every time I did that, my wife was like, go find a job. Go get a job. This is dumb. This is stupid. And this one, I had left a previous role. I was a regional CEO for a similar type of a company doing the mobile identity. And my responsibility was for the Americas and for Asia because I'm very strong in those two markets and have a lot of contacts. And as I was talking to the mobile network operators, they were all saying the same thing. We have no money. We don't know how to do this. We don't have a platform. Oh, by the way, did I tell you we had no money? We have no money to do this, right? And I knew, and I saw there was an issue. Like you're filling that hole, right? There's a problem, and someone needs to fill that problem. So I sat down and, like, for the first time, really wrote a thesis of what this company was going to be.
That's awesome.
And I just put my everything into it, right? On this thesis, hopefully answering the questions that I needed to be that were going to be asked of me. And then I went to some of the tough, I would say, probably the toughest people I know in the industry. One of them happens to be John Donovan, the former CEO of AT&T, who I worked for. People used to ask me, how well do I know him? And I go, he used to approve my expense reports, so I know him pretty well.
Yeah.
I consider him a mentor. He gave me an hour of his time, right? He gave me an hour of his time. I went through my thesis with him. And, he was like, go raise $40 million because you're not going to be in the space, alone for long, right? You can own this space. This is something. I think you got something here, which meant a lot. But I guess, that was great. But then I, sat down, my wife went through it with her, and she turned around and she goes, go do it. You have to do it. You have to go and you have to do this. This is something you have to do. And so after 19 months, right, winning a bunch of awards, customers, thought leadership recognition in the space, up to 30 employees. I mean, we have come a long way in 19 months. February 2nd will be our 2-year anniversary of so I hope it is 19 months. A 2-year anniversary of
I won't do the math.
incorporating.
I won't do math on the.
Oh, please don't. My math has been horrible lately. But yeah,
Well,
so
that is what an awesome story that you're able to do that. I mean, like 19 months. It's just persistence through your other trials or failures that you've had through life. So thank you for sharing that. That's exciting.
yeah.
If any of our listeners want to know how to get better at either starting a business or having persistence, things like that, do you have anything that books you've read or podcasts, anything tips you could share?
Everybody read from Good to Great and all those, ones. I'm a really, really big fan of OKRs. More so than MBOs,
Can you explain to the listeners what?
Yeah, so OKRs is objective key results. So if you have an objective, you have to have a result. And they always say don't do more than 3 results. Like, how are you going to get I'm going to, and it doesn't have to be big, right? It's like, I'm going to hire 2 people by the next quarter, right? Now, what are your key results to get there? Well, I gotta maybe hire a recruiter, write a job description, all the steps that it will take. But you want to narrow it down to 2 or 3 because humans can't function that way, right?
Overwhelmed.
They get overwhelmed, right? So you have your big audacious goal, right? I want to hire 2 people, and I want to, my big audacious goal for my company is launch a man to the moon. It could be whatever it is, but how are you getting there? And then you have to live them, right? You truly have to live to them. And what it does is it empowers your employees to say no, right? Because as a CEO, I talk to somebody, oh, it's a great idea. Let's go down this path. And then when you talk to even the lowest level junior employee intern, right? Down to that level, can say, if you want me to do that, then what do you want me to not do? Like a part of this guidelines or the roadmap for your company for that quarter, multiple quarters, or even the year, right? So I'm a huge fan of those. There's a bunch of books on it. If you can take a course on it, but really giving your employees the ability to say no, which is very, very hard for especially an executive management team of very highly trained individuals to hear somebody who may be a developer go, no, I can't do it. And well, why? Because this is my goal. This is my OKR to deliver this, which rolls all the way up to the ones that are done in January at the corporate level. So tell me where you want me to not do and miss. Tell me what you're willing to
Want me to pull
give
off.
up to
Yeah.
do this, right? Intel uses it, Google uses it, I believe Apple uses it. All these major corporations do it because it focuses the company to the company goals, and it empowers the individual to help drive to those goals. I think those are very, very important.
Getting everybody
I
pulling in the same direction.
Everybody's rowing in the same direction, right? And it also stops me as the leader of the organization from giving them whiplash. That's the last thing you want to do is
Sure.
there's a shiny penny. Let's go do that, right? We're the goal is to stay focused. I think that's very, very important. I also think what's very important is listen to your customers. That's how this company was founded. I was listening to my customers. I was hearing their pain. I'm like, how do I fix that? And a lot of people just think, hey, I just thought of a new widget. Everybody's going to buy it. The days of build it, they will come, especially in telecom, are over. These companies have spent, like I said, billions of dollars on build it and they will come, and they still make 99% of their revenue from me and you paying our monthly, phone bill.
Bill. Wow.
Right?
Interesting. And I think that's in any industry. If you see a need and you fill it, you're going to have customers. But
you have to listen to them. What the problem is, you may think you're listening, but when you really listen, you could feel it in your bones. There is a problem here.
Find the need. That's awesome. Well, what is one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career?
Raising money. Oh, in my career, doubt, imposter syndrome, negativity. I mean, but it's like everybody. Am I really good enough to do this? So you always, especially when you get rejection, right? So you have to know how to deal with that rejection, because there is a case, you do get a case of imposter syndrome. Am I really doing? Is this really what we're supposed to be doing? Or, so getting past that, and working through that and understanding that you are in this place because this is the right place to be, right? And just keep driving. If you fail, you fail.
You're learning.
Right? If you fail,
failure's learning. Yeah.
I mean, what's the worst thing? You failed. Okay. But no one's going to knock you for not trying. You can only succeed by doing, right? You can only succeed by doing. And if you failed doing it. But at least you had a shot, right?
For sure. No, you've got to try. You can sit there and you can greatly reduce your chances of failing, but you're not going to go anywhere. You're maybe going to stay in a straight line the whole time, and you're not going to do great things, most likely.
Yeah, it's like applying for what do they say? You will only get how does it go? You won't get the job if you don't apply, right? It's like something to that. I forget the exact saying, but you got to do it. You got to try, at least try.
Yeah,
you can always find a job.
Yeah, no, for sure. When I switched from healthcare to commercial real estate in my mid 40s, so that just a big shift of trying it with we had 3 kids too at the time, so it's a little nerve wracking, but we made that shift and glad I did it. And so but it is scary, and then you get that imposter syndrome, like, oh, who am I fooling? You start getting some self-doubt talk in your head, and you gotta shut that out.
Yeah, no, I agree. You really have to, and having a good support system around you is very important. We hired, I believe, the best. Right, I believe we brought the best people on. Everybody gets along. Everybody, busts on each other. We have a fun time when we're all together. I mean, and that's everybody. Within the organization, we have a great culture. We're quick to hire, but we're also quick to, if it's not the right fit, to move on very, very quickly. We don't have the luxury of keeping certain types of people who are not fitting
Sure. Well, it
into
can
the
be
culture of the
poison
company.
or yeah, like spoiling
It's
is
not
a
poison, but it's also it's a detriment to them, right? There's better
sure
places. There could be a better company that they could
they can
function
grow.
in, then yeah, and grow, right? That's what you want. Yeah, it's not because there is an expense to bring somebody on and stuff that you know. But if it's not, if I'm willing to take that and make that investment, I got to make sure you're the right person. So
For
I
sure.
think we have the best people, and I'm lucky. So I got a very, very good support group around me. Even as CEO, I talk to my partner, who's the CFO. He's my co-founder, but I also talk to my chief product officer. I elicit feedback from everybody in the organization on it could be basic stuff like how did I do on that presentation, right? I'm always eliciting the constructive criticism, the feedback, and again having a very good support system that I can lean on, individuals within the organization to take some of the load off of me, that it's not all on me. It's also very, very important.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like things are going well for you in the business, and a lot of entrepreneurs, as they start looking towards the future, start thinking about other ways to create passive income that can
Mhm.
either enhance or replace your current income. What are your thoughts on other sources of income, passive
What
income?
did I say? Always be hustling, right? Always try to find that, that next thing if it's possible. And if it's telecom has always been my passion, right? So, you know, yeah, I joke around saying I just want to open up a sandwich shop and just be alone. But if opening up a sandwich shop is your goal, do it, right? I mean, do it. Or, I have a friend of mine who has been involved in marketing, right? And now wants to move into sales, right? So he knows that he's junior level, right? Like and if you look at his resume, he actually, you know, embrace that. Like, yeah, because he's looking to make that shift into a different role that he's never done before. Being customer facing and going in and speaking with the customer. So I think it's very, very important to know you're not going to be the CEO. You're not going to be the vice CRO or the vice president of sales, but take the risk no one makes the big salaries day one. That's the other thing. You got to come to terms with that. I mean, I understand the salaries today are overinflated, but I mean, some of the requirements of some people that I've seen, over in my career in general, but especially over the last prior COVID, right? I mean, some of these numbers that come out of people's or ideas that people want, right?
Yeah.
Are not realistic. Are truly not a realistic, thing. So just tempering your expectations as well as understanding that this could potentially be your career path, your career goal.
You got to be willing to step. I mean, starting and stepping up,
You
right?
got to start and step.
Climb the
You got to.
ladder. Yeah.
How many people that, and I like to use this restaurant adage because, doing a restaurant is literally the hardest thing in the world. But I like to use that because some of these restaurants now that are very, very famous, they started out as food trucks,
Mm-hmm.
right? They started out as a catering business out of somebody's home, right? And then grew and grew and grew. And then, all of a sudden they're a successful, restaurant, right? So you have to start somewhere. Like I started my career as a billing analyst, right? Like we're talking way, way, way back in 1993. I mean, you didn't become the CEO of the company in '93. I worked my way up.
Yeah. What's that? 40-ish years later, you
Well,
30 years. 30 years.
about
Well,
30,
no,
30, 30 plus years. 30
yeah. So I
plus
mean, but
years.
you've worked. You started as the kind of frontline guy, and then
Yeah.
or that's awesome. So was that Southwestern Bell or AT&T or you?
No, PageNet.
Oh, I don't even know because my mom. I grew up. My mom was a lifelong Southwestern Bell and then AT&T employee. So I've been around the telephone, not wire. Everything was wired back then.
Yeah.
So that's great stuff.
I got lucky. Like I said, I worked. So I started in paging, went to work for John Kluge at Metro Media, met some amazing individuals there. Came back. I was working for them in Europe. I came back to Europe. I ended up working with this company called App Mobile, which we were the last internet startup that sold right before the bubble blew, right?
Oh, wow.
But these were the guys who invented what we're using today. I mean, like guys, but they worked for Craig McClure, guys like Mike Berman. I worked with, I'm drawing blanks on names right now, but guys who wrote the tech stack of where all wireless started from. I mean, just incredibly brilliant individuals.
Awesome.
And that's how I learned. I learned from them, right? These guys were like, what did you do? Oh, I invented this or I did that. I mean, just incredible individuals. And I was lucky enough in my career, those are the people that I kind of gravitated towards. And then I worked for VeriSign and other startups and here and there, and some were successful and some failed and so on. And, I got involved around messaging and stuff from its inception. I helped structure what the industry is today. So,
That's awesome.
I have done a lot. Yeah.
From 93, cell phones weren't, very few people had them to now it's very few people don't have one.
Yeah, exactly.
So in that short of a period. So as for wrapping up the interview, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives in the next 6 to 12 months?
We're continually growing. We're continually adding customers. It's all about growth now. Now it's about growth. And hopefully, knock on wood, if we can come close to our plan, I think we're going to be very, very, I think a lot of people will be happy. My investors will be happy. My employees will be happy. And most important, my customers will be happy.
That's good. If your customers are happy, everybody else, it's going to flow to everyone else.
So the former CEO of VeriSign, a guy by the name of Stratton Scalvos, had the best line I remember to this day. The only person that can fire the CEO is the customer.
Very true. That'll happen and fire the whole company, I would suppose, if they all turn around.
Yep. He had two great lines. Customer can fire the CEO, and if your employees are happy and your employees do a good job, your company's going to do just fine.
That's well said. Awesome. Well, Eddie, thank you so much for your time today and sharing some insights and tips with us. If people would like to get in touch with you and find out more about what you do, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Prevalent on LinkedIn. Please look me up on LinkedIn, Eddie Decurtis. Or they can, come to our website, reach out at www.sush.pw. Again, www.sush.pw, and reach out there. But I'm prevalent on LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, and thanks everyone for listening. Be sure to like this episode and pass it on to others or share. We really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.